Welcome back to the podcast. We've got Elona Lopari with us, the CEO of Life School. You guys know how much I love talking about the human condition. What are the things that motivate us? What are the things that really grow our ability to be functional and develop great companies? We've got Elona on the podcast, and she's going to show you how to 10x your development. And she's really a great coach. Works with lots of great companies and growing them. I'm so excited to have her on board and on the podcast. Elona, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
When we talk about 10xing a company, a lot of us are trudging the road of destiny, right? We get up in the morning, we put one foot in front of the other one. We are driven by 1,000 forms of fear. And my judgment is being pushed by fear is exhausting, right? It has us feeling limp and not very motivated, as opposed to being driven by purpose. And I know your book talks about visionary. What's the name of the book again?
The Visionary Purpose-Driven Leadership.
And really visionary purpose-driven leadership. In the book, it talks about having a vision and purpose that pulls you forward. Right? That motivation that takes you from being pushed by fear, I got to pay my bills, oh my God, I got to do this or I'm going to fail, right? To being pulled forward by vision and by purpose, right? That there's a much different motivation here. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I love where we're starting our conversation because that was my journey, right? That's how I used to operate. And I thought that was the way to operate as human, right? There's always something new to be afraid of. There's always something new, especially as we're exploring our potential through the journey of entrepreneurship. We're always reaching, new heights. We got to grow our company, right? We got to align the right people around us. We got to align the right clients around us. We got to, make investment decisions in our companies. So, it seems like at every corner, there's something, it's so easy to feel fear and to be able to operate under that because obviously we don't know what's on the other side, especially if you have never been at the level that you're looking to grow as far as 10xing your company or reaching the ceiling of capacity based on kind of where you are in the journey of entrepreneurship. So it's absolutely one of those things that we all experience. And what I've learned in my journey, putting purpose first, meaning clarifying what is the reason behind the work that you do. How does the work that you do contribute towards others? That was actually my clue. And when I reached and climbed the corporate ladder into the C-suite level, I realized that, wait a minute, the reason why my paycheck or the compensation structure or whatever is it that was handed to me made me happy and fulfilled only as soon as I received it, I kind of found ways to spend it. So I'm like, wait, there's got to be something bigger than this. And I started to feel depleted, unfulfilled. I'm like, what's the point, of doing all these things that go under the hamster wheel and do the same thing over and over? So I realized that transferring this over to entrepreneurship, I also was in that same barrier where most people could probably find themselves. So I'm like, wait, there's got to be something bigger. I have to align my values, my vision, my mission as to what I'm doing around the contribution that I get to have with other people. And in entrepreneurship, in order for us to scale, we always talk about branding. Building a brand is something that is an experience for our clients. It's something bigger than our products or services. So connecting that brand story, brand message, brand vision, brand mission, what are we here to do? What is that big problem that we really feel most compelled to solve? And based on our experience, our skills, our expertise, we are qualified to be able to solve it for somebody else. So clarifying those three pillars really helps us really wake up in the morning with no alarm clock, just like we probably have heard the quote from Steve Jobs, where you're really driven by that unique, innovative way that you want to solve that problem in the world and why that matters to you and how that is an actual contribution to somebody else. To me, having this clarity wakes me up every day working under the mission that I'm after. And it's so much easier to withdraw the days where we could feel purposeless. We could feel like fear is kicking in. We feel like things are not going our way. Our team member doesn't work out. We don't have enough consistency with clients. We don't know how to scale our company. We're working 24 hours, 24/7. All those things that suck dry our energy, that's what happens when we operate in the older model, I call it now.
Well, I mean, for sure, I've had both, right? And there were times when, in a given hour, I might be on both sides of the fence, right? There was times when I'm fear driven and I can feel the dinosaurs caving in on me. They're all coming to attack me. As an entrepreneur, my days are very dynamic, and depending on where I'm at, right? I can be above the line or below the line where I start to, uh, you know, get to be a little bit of a villain or victim to the day. And when I'm purpose driven, right? When I started looking at the big idea, uh, now audience, I think when we say purpose driven, a lot of you guys are like, yeah, my purpose is to get up and pay my bills. My purpose is to get up and make my and make sure I've got enough money to make payroll this Friday. My purpose is, a lot of people aren't looking at the bigger idea about what might be the driver. Why do we really want to do this? Right?
Mm.
Like, why are we becoming an entrepreneur? Why are we putting our neck out there? Why are we getting up every day trying to grow an idea? Because the ideas are great, right? But to grow the idea, right, to get out there and grow it, in between the two of those is chaotic as hell. Right? I mean, there's nobody that's growing an idea. Not one person that's listening here goes, well, I have an idea, I'm gonna grow it, and it's just easy. It's not. There no matter what happens in between the two of those is chaotic, it's messy, it's never perfect. There's lots of opportunities, good and bad, in the middle of that spot. And then, how do we start to understand what our real purpose is? Because I'm still not sure. I'm 55 and I'm still not sure what I want to be when I grow up.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think back to what you're saying, I completely agree that obviously in order to give birth to any idea that we have as entrepreneurs or a unique spin to why we want to do the work we do or why we are different from maybe our competitors, it's important to understand that there's a process to getting obviously any execution out there, right? So that's where discipline, aligning yourself with the right people, learning around the thing you want to do, all those things are important, right? It's not just woo woo stuff, an idea or purpose, right? Because it could be a big word, but it's really what is that next level, next goal that you have clarified within that project or idea that you have. And now brainstorming or working backwards towards those action steps that you need to take, whether they're messy or not, because as you said, of course, it's going to be messy. Sometimes you don't know what you don't know, but staying open in the journey of learning, right? Because every experience or every failure along that journey of you executing on that idea is going to teach you something if you are insightful and if you are aware. So just taking that kind of approach, taking action through inspired action is what I call it, so that obviously you're getting closer and closer to the thing that you're trying to realize. That's always going to get you further faster towards the thing that you're looking to do. Or it could turn out that maybe that's not your door. Maybe that was just an idea that you thought would work out. Maybe the timing is not right, right? It's not working, and that's fine too. But with you executing and taking inspired action towards that idea or aligning yourself with the right people that maybe have done that before, that's powerful as well. Learning from our experience is one thing, but learning from other people's experience that have already done the thing that we want to do is powerful, because obviously it'll shortcut the one most important resource that we have that is scarce, which is time. Time, we don't get it back, right? Time away from family, time away from the things that we care about, time away from hobbies. So all these different things. But when it comes to survival mode and paying our bills and creating and generating the right income coming towards us, that's also very fair. We have to problem solve for that, right? And that's there. That's the practical side of business. However, it's good that we also have this other thing that's bigger than us, and we understand why it's important to us that we are going towards and seeing every opportunities for failure as lessons, because it's really preparing us.
Well, let's do this. Let's stay right there. Let's go right there for a second, because I think this is, I don't want to skip over this. I think this is some audience. You guys this is big, right? There's this difference between what she just said is that it's preparing us, right? I once heard an expression says, that a bird needs to peck its way out of a shell, that in the pecking motion of that, it generates the muscles it's going to need to fly, right? If you came over and opened the shell for him, the bird would die, right? It wouldn't be able to fly later on. And the work that we do as we go through this, although it's difficult, the troubles that we go through are ultimately lessons that we're learning and that we need to learn. Right. I mean, I don't know. Is there any way to circumvent having those, going through those lessons? Have you found any magic principle that goes, well, I'll skip all that and get to the easy part faster?
I have found that through, aligning myself with the right mentors, reading, always being a life student. That's one way to be able to, I guess, take a little shortcut. However, our own experience will be our own experience, because if we don't go through that, then we can't grow. We don't have that awareness on how to make a better decision next time. Because better decision making and really improving our ability to make decisions, it's one of the most important skills of any founder, right? Because at the end of the day, you are the main decision maker of your company, at whatever level, whether you're solopreneur all the way to CEO level. So understanding how this process works and learning from others, but also honoring our own experience, kind of marrying the two and harmonizing the two, is the way that we get to become better decision makers within our company based on the results that we're looking to achieve, whether it's for profitability or any other
Well,
KPIs or metrics that we have our eye on.
let's start with profitability. So, as an entrepreneur, I'm always faced with making money and how to stay profitable. You're investing in the company, you're growing people, you're growing an idea. Payroll is a killer, right? Between rent and payroll, I wake up every morning with something to do, right? I've got something to do because I know I got rent and payroll coming up, and those I've got to generate some profit, right? In order for us to stay in business, we've got to do projects that are profitable. And if not, if I'm not profitable, I will not be in business very long. So between sales and profitable projects, those are two things I've got to do. Now, let's talk about how going through the ups and downs and the learning make that a good thing for me, because sometimes that feels, I don't know about you guys, but every once in a while I get tired. I'm like, Jesus, oh my God, did that guy make another mistake? I go around with the hundreds of job sites we have every year, and I look and go, there's $10,000 worth of loss. Oh, that guy rented a piece of equipment too long, or this piece over here. The little places where we leak cost or values, and then, I've got to find ways to change that. So, the troubles that we go through as entrepreneurs, how do we stay in that space that says, all right, I'm not victim to the troubles, right? Because victim doesn't give me much agency, right? Like almost said, it's happening to me. I can't believe those people did that. Or how can I move it over to going, all right, that's an opportunity for us to learn how to control equipment or control spending a little bit smarter, which ultimately makes me a healthier organization.
Yeah. Well, empowering others to be owners in your company, that's a good start, right? Having that buy-in for the people that are aligned under the umbrella of your company, or our companies, understand, where's the ROI for them as well, right? So understanding a great compensation structure where they're also part of the company and they're owners. So every time something goes wrong, they're problem solving it, right? With that problem solving solution mindset, so they can problem solve for themselves without waiting for the founder to come around and solve their problems. So really empowering team, going back to leadership as we're talking about leadership. So empowering your team to problem solve for themselves, and then structuring out the different departments, and then understanding how everybody's accountable to the right metrics. That's always a great way to begin, because obviously you can't clone yourself and be everywhere. And there's no way that you can even scale and grow a company that is a legacy company, its own entity, that you could maybe tomorrow raise it as an asset or independently sell it, or other things that you might want to do with it. So empowering our teams to be able to do that, it's very important. And structuring out, putting the right people in the right places. That's another way to be able to scale. But also something else with today's age and day and age of AI and technology systems, right? Whatever is it that we can systematize and look at our operations and processes, if we can streamline and automate, that would always be the smartest way to do so, so that maybe for many functions of your operations, you don't even need another human, right? Depending on your industry, depending on the size of business, and depending on how your service delivered to your clients. So taking a look at all those efficiency metrics in your company definitely is a great place to start, to look at those dots that might be missing or the gaps that you might have, between where you are and where you want to go. Because as you said it, Anthony, it's very true. We can have a lot of sales, but obviously at the end of the day, if we're spending more than we're making, that's not a healthy, profitable company. And there's no way you can have enough leverage to be able to reinvest back in the company for your company to grow. So we got to look at your company in that holistic system and approach, so that all these things are working in harmony within one another, so that everybody's working towards the same vision and mission based on where you are in the growth phase and stage.
Well, but that's easier said than done, right? That sounds great, right? I'm an entrepreneur. I'm over growing, and now you're asking me, I've got to get people aligned. I've got to get people accountable. And look, I'm having a hard time just getting people show up for work, right? I mean, I just try to get it so that people aren't drunk all day.
Well, that goes back to the culture, right? So, what is the culture that we are creating with our teams? So we got to start somewhere, right? Taking a look at the next biggest problem that we solve. And that's actually the work that I do with companies, taking a look at the biggest elephant in the room and working around that and working on a process to improve that. And then it's like a domino effect. Once you tackle the biggest elephant in the room, then the rest of the pieces of the organization and the culture are going to start to fall into the right place, because everything starts with that. What is your culture for attracting talent? If you're attracting people that you can't retain or are not really, people that are productive based on the roles that they have, then I would take a look at maybe your HR practices, your recruiting practices, right? Streamline all those systems and operations so that we're bringing in people that are energetic, people that align with the values of the company, but also people that are very productive in the roles that they're being hired for. So that's what I would
it's as
say.
much as bringing them. Sorry, so it's as much bringing them in, but now I got to get them in and get them functional, right? I mean, great companies. I've started lots of great companies where, we've grown fast, and we brought in amazing talent that was useless, right? Because we didn't properly bring them in. The onboarding for that becomes as much a matrix to figure out, right? How do we bring on great people and get them from off board to on board and get them functional faster at a high level, functional
Right.
at a high level faster?
So you said it, right? What is your onboarding process? So let's take a look at your entire onboarding, hiring, and also retaining and training your team, right? There's a whole process and system that people got to go through. And if there's holes in the system, obviously that's where you got to focus on. And that's the hole you want to fill first, so that you have a streamlined process for people to get the right training and onboarded, so that they are productive and you are not wasting time with payroll bringing in the wrong team member, as we know how much that costs any company. So having those systems in place absolutely is where I would begin, with bringing in the right team members and the right people. And also today, in today's world, I mean, we can access global talent, right? Maybe there's a position that locally you can't fill, but maybe globally you can. So taking a look at all those ways to be able to work on your people resource or your HR resource.
And I think this is one of the ones where it's difficult when you're in the fire, right? When you're in the company, when you're as an entrepreneur, a lot of times you're working in the business, not on the business, and you're so close to the fire, you can't see your own character defects, right? The behavioral defects that you operate the company in, and your short sight. And my judgment is my short. I'll say it about me. It's like calling out anybody else. It's calling me. I can't even see what I can't see, right? That the behaviors and actions and the way that I'm behaving are causing the problems that I'm going through. If if I take responsibility for all the things that are happening in the company as my fault, right? I'm accountable for everything that's happening here, the good, the bad, the ugly. Right now, I have a chance of fixing it, but my justifier kicks in. Right? I mean, Lola, how many people do you work with that they're justifying their behavior all day long?
Absolutely. And that makes a lot of sense. And people usually justify until obviously they have a big pain point and they have to look at it, right? That's usually how we operate as humans, even in our personal lives. We
Yeah,
won't fix
yeah.
something unless something is hitting us, is broken, or something is going to give us a big consequence. And obviously we're like fire. So I got to do something about it. It's the same way in the company, which is why we have experts, which is why we have professionals, which we have people that are not emotionally connected to you or your company or your team, that can come in and give you that insight, and then help you execute that. That's kind of where it's always at, is if you are, you're part of the culture, so you don't see it, just like anything. So I would say that, the value of others and other experts that are able to come in and help you pinpoint some of the things that are might be potentially, go into fires next, right? So be more proactive in problem solving is also a really great way, because it will cost you a lot, just like personal life. I mean, do you want to let something, for it to go all the way to a personal consequence, like a divorce? If you've missed the signs of your relationship going sour, your health going sour, obviously, you can start to get diagnosed with disease, or it can start affecting other areas of your life, right? So do you want to let the problem go to that level, or do we want to be more proactive and really, understanding and learning? That's why the leader always got to be learning, right? Leaders are, we got to read, we got to surround ourselves with the right information and bring in the right people and invest in the right things in our companies, so that we could start to see those red flags that you said, and
That's
sometimes not such red flags that you can't see that.
that's the trick right there. The trick is, as a leader, staying vulnerable. And it's kind of like I'm lost between, the constant. I'm at 55 years old. I've changed a lot, man. I've changed. Are you asking me to change again? Come on, I got to change again. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean, the only thing in life that's constant is change, Anthony, right? I mean, we are in the process of evolution. If you don't change, just like personal life, then you will get worse, right? Things will move beyond you. Your company will start to die, right? So if those, consequences are not important to you, then stay the same, right? But then status quo, it's what happens to that. The competitors will roll in, especially in the world of business. You also have a lot of outside factors that are affecting you. So um it's okay, cry it over. I'll do that too. I'm like, just like, I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to go through another thing. But feel all your feelings and just then problem solve with a clear mind based on kind of where you are and what you need to do. Otherwise, it's going to start to cost you in many other ways. That's kind of the only thing I've also learned personally and from the work that I do to do. If you really feel like, okay, this is not something that I want to do, it's okay, but just make that conscious choice. That's all.
So yeah, we have every option to do that. But truth is, as a coach, right? When you go to work for an entrepreneur, and I bring someone like you on, and I love bringing on a coach like you to my company. To me, like I say, it's for me. It may affect the rest of my company, but a coach for a CEO coach is something that I wholeheartedly believe. If I don't have one or two of them a year come in and really look at different parts of my leadership skills and the work that I'm doing here, I don't have one. I mean, it's one of my core beliefs that great work as a CEO or as an owner or as a principal takes having, being able to step back and question, all right, how could I be the one affecting what's happening today? Right? How can I hold myself accountable for looking at that and going, all right, if my thoughts, actions, behaviors are causing my company to be exactly where it is, not good, bad, and ugly. I mean, oftentimes I can be pretty harsh on myself. I've often said to people, I would have prayed to have the company I have today, even though I'm not always, I'm always working on something. I would have prayed for the company I have today 10 years ago. Right. I mean, I'm so gifted to have the businesses and the people around me. And I still notice there's one inside of me that's constantly making sure that we're staying vigilant, because the enemy's coming after us. Right. They're attacking our ship always. And, we have to stay, vigilant and stay on top of growing, just making sure that, we're staying healthy as a company, looking forward, not getting that depressive place. Sometimes you can get a little, dogmatic or a little, depressed about that, or a little frustrated, right? But just knowing that, all right, I got to stay healthy. Um, I got to stay on top of it, right? There's no time for coasting.
Yeah, I mean, I think being grateful for the experience and looking back at the journey, gratitude is a really great value to have, especially as we go through the growing pains and, stubbornly, as you also said, we just feel like, oh my gosh, I'm tired. I've already been through a lot of different things, depending on where we are, also mentally, spiritually, and physically. That's why we got to take care of our health first, right? Self care. We hear about this all the time. Taking care of ourselves first, so that we're not, operating under the burn batteries or the burnout function, which can happen so easy. I think it's another thing, and also having a culture of continuous improvement, right? Just continuously small baby steps into improving things, especially if you're obviously if you have a big operation, the steps towards change or adaptability or pivoting or however you like to call it will be a little slower, because obviously you got to bring a whole operation with you. So continuous improvement, baby steps, one day at a time, if you need to think about it that way, or also imply it that way. And just being grateful for the journey, because just like you said, and enjoying the journey, because I mean, if you're just doing it to kind of solve the next problem, it can get very tiring, right? And it's like, well, I'm always setting fires. So that's why people actually self-sabotage themselves, right? They're like, I'll just stay small, I'll just do it myself, I'll just have these couple of people that I trust, and I'll just stay here. That's what happens. But moving beyond that and just being in gratitude and always focusing on continuous improvement, one day at a time, that's kind of the only thing we can do anyway.
Let's talk about that, because I think that that's the spot I catch a lot of my friends and fellow entrepreneurs in. Idea, growth. In the middle there, it gets all frustrated, and they go back to, well, let's slow the idea down, right? They get like, it's almost like an air conditioner, right? I get to 73, it's too hot, right? I go to 68, it's too cold, right? I start growing an idea, it gets a little hot in the kitchen, right? I gotta turn it down a little bit. So I start self-sabotaging, right? Oh, I got too much. I got hiring too many people. That guy got messed up. Something happened over there. I hired, I grew the company. All of a sudden I hired someone. Oh, maybe we shouldn't have grown so fast. We slow it down. Right. Then we get slowed down and we're like, all right, now it's a little too warm in here. I need to cool it off again, or move the temperature up again. It's too cold in here, right? There's not enough passion. We're not growing. It's hard to make payroll. It's hard to keep the business fresh, right? So then I ramp up the stuff again, and then I get a little busy and too much, and that limiting belief and not being able to break through that. Let's talk a little about that. How do you help entrepreneurs or CEOs break through that top they make for themselves?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Personal belief. So taking a look at the story, right? I mean, what is the thought there, right? So just kind of what you talked about with, um, you know, a new project coming in. Oh my gosh, now all of a sudden you have all this extensive growth. Maybe you got to put some resources together. You got to put more money into it. You got to hire people into that, right? So taking a look at that, and then once that comes towards you, paying attention to what is that thought that you're telling yourself, right? The story, and what are the feelings the story is actually causing, and then managing that, right? So once we bring that to the awareness, then we have we could tackle the problem just like any business problem, right? We take a look at it and we tackle it. That's what we do best, and most of us is because it's easier. We could see it, but we can't see our own subconscious programming. We can't see our own ways that we're self-sabotaging. So just the same way with business, we got to take a look at the mumbo jumbo going on in our brain and where that comes from too, because sometimes we do have to connect it to things that maybe have happened to us, which is why we maybe might be afraid that that sudden growth might, I don't know, cause pain for us, because maybe, I don't know, I remember my parents
Yeah.
kind of going through a similar thing. So kind of just, giving it the awareness that it needs, to be able to stay aware around the thought, and also where is it coming from, and then moving through the process of what is it now that we know what it is, what is it that we can do to come up with a better story or a better thought that you believe, and then shifting or rewiring or reprogramming yourself in the right direction, so to speak, just like any good computer, because our brains are old computers anyway, so that we could start to overcome a lot of that self-sabotage or whatever stories that are holding us back. But mindset is very, very important, and identifying, those things or red flags that might come up is also business. It's a business activity for me, at least, because I've always been also very driven in business. For me, it's like if you told me that was a business activity, it was holding me back, I would listen. Otherwise, I'll be like, I don't got time for that.
That's
I
right.
got too many things going on, and I got to worry about doing, the executing, but also honoring some of the being, figuring out what's happening in the being, and how that actually is affecting your doing is absolutely going to make you more productive, efficient, and also help you grow with ease and scale faster, because now you remove the biggest block, which is your own psychology.
Well, I got to tell you something. I am so grateful for having you on here. Again, let's talk about the book again. Visionary, purpose-driven leadership. Available on Amazon. Right there's the book right there. Get it. Get it. It's an easy book to read. It's a quick one. You can digest the one, but it's not. It's simple, but maybe not easy. So I just want you to get having a coach, bringing a coach on, having someone so like Elona that comes on board and will really help you grow your company. I challenge you right now to know that that's what you need to do right now. Elona, if people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to catch up with you?
Thank you so much. I'm very grateful for the space. They can check me out or connect with me on my website, alonaloparicoaching.com.
AlonaLopariCoaching.com. I'll put all the links to the book and all the stuff down below. I want to make sure that you guys take a second and go order this book now. Look, every week we have great podcast guests on, and when we get them on there, take the book, read it, digest it, and implement it into the business you're operating with. I know that you guys are great leaders, right? We have amazing following here and entrepreneurs that watch this show and listen to this show around the world. It's great work that we do, and we do that by following the great advice from people like Elona, who've got some great insight in that. As all hey, if you guys could take a second right now. I noticed last week that we had 47% of you that made it to the end of the show, and you didn't subscribe. You're not subscribers, and it was kind of crazy. I was like, oh my god. If you guys could take a second right now and like and subscribe, it means the world to Elona and myself and Joe and all the people and Connor in the background that put the show together. The hard work they do, it really just says, hey, you're doing a good job. And it gives us the ability to get great guests on like Elona who really bring great ideas to us. So if you could take a second and do that now, I would be grateful. And as always, thank you for being here. Elona, thank you for being here. And guests, thanks for listening.